the Sportsline podcast here on the CHCH Multimedia and Parent Platform. I'm Bubba O'Neill. As we like to say in these parts, if you can make it in Hamilton, Halton, and Niagara, you can make it anywhere. And it's those teams, athletes, broadcasters, and executives who we love to spotlight on the Sportsline podcast. And that includes all genders.
I started playing sports very early, even skating when I was 18 months old, and although golf was on the back burner, it eventually became my entire life as I lived out my dream getting a full-ride scholarship and playing at a very competitive university level. Now, during my time in male-dominated sports, I realized I rarely saw women's sports in the media, so upon the realization, I decided I wanted to make a change, which brings us to where we are now. Thanks to social media, I've been able to cover women's sports in every major event, witness history, and watch the growth in real time. I'm happy to be able to share my story alongside Canadian.
Well, as you've just heard from her youngest days growing up in Oakville, Ontario, Logan Hackett had her eyes on the prize, which is sports from a woman's perspective. Assisted by her experience of attending and playing golf at Texas Southern University, this Canadian was influenced by an American view of sports and business and has created a career of her own. With tremendous credibility, Logan has been trusted by network and lifestyle companies like ESPN and Adidas to promote their events and product on social media. Folks, it is the power of new media, and we bring in Logan Hackett. This is incredible what you are doing and what you have created. How are you? And thanks for joining us here on the Sportsline podcast.
I'm doing well, and thank you so much for having me.
It's amazing. I mean, you did have this experience golfing. You talked about playing hockey when you were a young child, so you had sports as kind of part of your heart and was something that was a heavy influence for you. But golfing and being part of a team and attending stateside university, that taught you a different perspective, as I said there, did it not?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we have hockey in Canada. I feel like that's our main sport, but just seeing how sports work and the whole system and how people come up through them in the States, it's a completely different world. Like even going to different universities and how people have like their eyes on a certain university and that's their goal. We never really had that here. Our goal was mainly just like going to the States and trying to be an NCAA golfer.
Well, I had Tamika Nurse here, as you well know, basketball player in NCAA, played at Oregon, and she said to me that as much as she loves Canada, there is nothing like attending school on a scholarship stateside. And that is just something that it was huge for her growth.
Oh, absolutely. And even, my school, we didn't have a very good football team, but going to other schools, like we go up to CSTAT College Station and just see Texas, like university as a whole, that is insane. I could only imagine going there. Like that whole experience was just seeing all the different sports and what you could do with it. And even their facilities. I mean, our high school facilities would be like a primary school facility there.
But would that not be a big leap of faith? I mean, obviously hanging out in Oakville and then being somewhere in deep, it's Texas. Like that would be a huge change for so many people. How did you adjust?
I honestly don't think it was that hard, but
Really?
From a young age, I think I always knew that I was going to go to the States because that's really the only hope that we had at the time. I mean, youth sports here are coming up, I believe, and you can get scholarships, but I didn't have that when I was going to school. So in order to continue to play sports, you pretty much had to go to the States. And I think just growing up, going to different sleepaway camps and everything kind of prepped me for it. I think it was honestly more so the adjustment of being in Texas rather than Oakville.
Reading your bio, there were a couple lines that really struck me, and you can kind of expand on it. One of them was, crazy how a little app can change your life. It has, hasn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, and this is the world that we live in today. It's so crazy to think, but I mean, I'm where I am right now because I have been posting on TikTok, and that's insane.
What made you do it?
I just started. I mean, I had a first account when TikTok first came up, and I was still in Texas, and it was just for fun. I was doing like all these dances and just silly stuff. And I'm pretty sure it got banned. I took a little off because I was like, this isn't going to be anything serious. And I was bored of it. I was like, I feel like I was made for content creation or being in front of a camera. I mean, when I was younger, I didn't really have a goal job to have. It was just, I love to talk and I love to be kind of front and center. So I made another account and started looking at WNBA and NWSL fit checks. And from there, it just kind of skyrocketed with people also saying, like, I had no clue that these leagues were in season. And honestly, as an athlete, I didn't either. So I wanted to make that known.
Well, and where you are right now in this space is the word, and it's kind of broad the way I look at it, is sports content creator. Yeah. Because for someone in my generation, content creation is done on radio, print, or on television, as I do. Mm-hmm. But in your world and your generation that's coming up real hard and starting to dominate, it's the internet. And how have you made that work?
Visibility. I think my early videos, I remember just trying to hook somebody as fast as possible to explain information in a way that if you don't care about women's sports, even if you hate watching women play sports for some reason, you would still be intrigued by the story and watch the whole video to get the message. And then maybe your thoughts change, maybe you just continue to scroll, maybe you look them up, who knows? But it's all about engaging the audience and just trying to reel as many people in as possible.
Well, and that's amazing that you've done that, because I think you've done that with the NHL, NFL, NBA, that would have been easy. Yeah. But your selection was the women's sports world. And I would argue on this very podcast, and I've had several other men where we've talked about the difficulties of women's sports. But you're coming at it from a completely different angle. And it seems to me old folks like us are completely wrong, because what I'm seeing now, and I'm jumping on board because I think it's unbelievable that women's sports is, I think the growth is infinite at where we are right now.
Yeah, I forget who did the report, but there was one that came out the other day saying that it's estimated in a few years that it'll be a $2.6 billion industry. Now, with March Madness going on, you have to think just a few years ago, the girls were getting yoga mats and like dumbbells as their weight room, and they weren't even allowed to call the tournament March Madness. So just to look back at that point to now, and I think through content creation, you sometimes have to pick and choose what stories you tell, or you have to completely spin them another way. So let's say somebody in the NWSL is scoring a ton of goals. Sure, that's fine. A lot of people would be like, okay, I've never heard of this league. But then you dive deeper into maybe their story, find something interesting about them that is going to have people say, oh, I want to watch them now.
But they're stars now.
Yeah.
And you've found stars within these different sports. Caitlin Clark, I think, would be the easy one on what we're seeing in the WNBA. And I think we got some kickback from many of the women in the WNBA saying, hey, we've been around for a long time too. Yeah. And there's some truth to that, because we are seeing big stars in that sport.
Yeah. If you know me, you know that transparently, one thing I hate is a Caitlin Clark conversation, because there are so many people who came up before her. I mean, the Sue Bird, the Diana Taurasi, we were just talking about her the other day. They were making a name for themselves, and the play around Caitlin has always been the same. Sure, she came up with an amazing, half court 3-pointer, whatever. And she has that sticking point. She has the captivity, and she has grown the game. But it is hard sometimes because there are so many other people who also broke records and did things before her. And a lot of people are very kind of one-sided towards it.
Why was it her, though? Why was it her that was kind of the breakthrough?
I think it was the half-court 3-pointer, or her pulling up from literally anywhere. It also comes with the kind of captivation that March Madness final had with LSU. And it created a ton of divide, but it had people jump on the Caitlin train. Now, what we're seeing isn't great, kind of the fallout of that. But I think that's honestly where she got a ton of her fans. And in the media, she's been great. She's very, I guess, media trained, as you call it, but she's very perfect in a sense, and people love to see that. Well,
I think anytime we see this, we like boxing because there's one person versus one person, and I think there was kind of that similarity where Angel Reese was an athlete that was competing against her, and we're seeing it now in the pro level as well too, and that I don't know. I don't think they're best buddies.
Yeah.
But I think they will forever be matched together because they kind of came up at the same time.
Yeah, I think it was during WNBA All-Star last year. There was one play, Angel came in the game late and they had a pass to each other and scored. And then all the media around it and the clips that came out, it was them being buddy-buddy. Like, they do not hate each other, but I think that narrative was really driven into people's brains, and it elevated Caitlin. Angel has had her own insane elevation, both as a player and just a person outside of basketball. But I hate the hate that has come around Angel with that.
Basketball, again, we're seeing this with the Toronto Tempo. I mean, this is going on the verge of blowing up, and I would presume the association with Serena Williams most recently has taken it to a whole new level.
Yeah, I honestly was shocked to see.
We all were.
Serena, first of all, the fact that it didn't leak was amazing because their name even leaked beforehand, and things in Toronto, I mean, were pretty small compared to everything else. The first Canadian city, I have no clue how it didn't come out earlier, but to have someone like Serena take this and say, hey, I know it's going to be big, let me hop in now and let me use myself to help grow it and give this team exactly what they deserve. I absolutely love that, and I don't think there's anyone better who could have done it.
Well, and in Toronto as well too, the PWHL. I mean, let's change to hockey as well too, and we always knew that hockey, you know, it was big in this country, but I could think of at least 3 different women's leagues prior to the PWHL that just didn't work for several different reasons. Why is the PWHL working now?
I think it's because you have the highest top level talent playing. Beforehand, what was the league before the PWHL?
There was two. There was two. The Canadian professional, the PHL, something like that. I can't remember. There was 2 fractured league, and one was associated kind of with the National Hockey League, and they tried to back off.
Yeah, that was the PHF.
Yes.
So we had, I want to say, I know it was more than 6 teams, or maybe it was right on 6, but the talent that came in, it was from like low-level university players who are just kind of trying to find something more to do. It was a side job. They'd get paid like 20 grand, if that, to the highest Olympian level. You have your Hillary Knights, Marie-Philippe Poulin, and there was such a difference in the playing style between them.
Sure.
So now you have everyone from the national teams that you're seeing playing in a league, and it's so much more competitive and so much more fun to watch.
It really is, and I think and I think you would attest to this too. It's attracted young girls.
Yes.
Every game we've seen young girls with signs, and that's unlike anything because in a lot of the men's sports it's so hard and unaffordable for young kids to go to games.
Yeah.
But we're seeing a young community watching these games, and that bodes well for the future.
It is absolutely adorable, I will say. Yeah. The first game that I went to, it was with the Scepters. I've done some work with them, and they've invited me to games, and I make content around it. And I just remember looking around and seeing not only all the women there, but all the children, and you'd have teams coming in their uniforms and they were all cheering for their favorite players, or even during whistles or TV timeouts. It's absolutely electric. I mean, everyone's doing a chant or cheering, or there's different games going on, but just to have that to look up to as a child, it's something that I would have loved to see. I mean, a pro league, it shows that it shows that there's a future beyond just being on an Olympic team or the national team. And so I think it provides a whole bunch more hope, but it's also just something fun for them to do. You're no longer going to Leafs games to watch a professional hockey game. You're going to watch the girls play.
You have also mastered the side of, you know, working as a brand ambassador. And on top of the sports content creation, you have found a way to put your face affixed to different companies, different networks. We had a board up here where I just kind of loosely looked through some of the I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, those are, like, that's top-notch stuff, right? I mean, how have you done this? And I have to believe, I'm sure you must have done some selling to them, but obviously now, because you have become a content creator, a lot of them are coming to you now, are they not?
Yeah, I think honestly this is the first time I've had it laid out like this to me, where I'm able to be like, whoa, I have done that. Like, even just reading some of these, I mean, these are the top brands or networks in sports. Whoa, I'm honestly kind of shocked by that. But I think it's also a result of everyone investing more into women's sports and being able to.
Here you are with Adidas.
Yeah.
At an Adidas event.
Yeah, that was so much fun. That was for,
Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. That was for Pride, I believe. But everyone is investing so much more into women's sports and the audience that comes with it. So you'll see with ESPN, you're tapping into people who want to watch women's sports or are looking for women's sports. I think Prime is for the NWSL. They all have some type of selling point that my demographic and audience would enjoy. And with that, my demographic, I believe it's 97% women. So yeah, they're definitely selling to them. I do also have to shout out my agents because they have done amazing with this. But yeah, everything goes through them, and then we kind of decide if we want to take it or go a different way.
You don't have to answer this question, but this is something that I have noticed. And someone like yourself probably would give me the most honest answer. I have noticed that in the men's sports world, being in this business for 30, almost 40 years now, where we're still struggling with the fact of who's going to be the first gay hockey player, who will be the first gay football player, right? I mean, and we use those words. Yet, in women's sports, it's not even an issue.
No.
It's not discussed. It's accepted. Yeah. We don't question it. Women don't question it. We hear of, individuals in the PWHL, all sports. So-and-so got married. Some of them are playing against each other. Some of them are teammates. Yeah. In the men's sports world, I can't even imagine that happening. Why is it so much more accepted from your standpoint?
Honestly, I think one of the biggest questions, rather than who's gay, it's who's not gay. To be honest, that's the easiest way to put it. But I think that's actually a great question. I think it's just the fact that growing up in sports, you're going to have that happen. I mean, women are attracted to each other, same in men's, but there's not the toxicity that comes with it. And I don't think it's rooted in stereotypes either. Whereas the men, it's very like, oh, we have to be big men. We go out and we hit and we do all this stuff. That's not really the vibe in women's, and we're accepting everyone. You'll see that in leagues too. Like, there are huge inclusion policies within each league, and they stick to it. And if not, they get fined or their league or their team goes down.
Yeah, because I do see all the leagues sort of like, and we're struggling with this with the National Hockey League. It became a big topic last year where some players didn't want to be involved in the Pride Night events. And it got to the point where Gary Bettman, the commissioner, had to say, well, we're going to just shut this down completely, which to me was a big miss, completely a big miss. Whereas I just don't see that in the WNBA. It is celebrated, and I think that's progress.
Oh, absolutely. And another thing within women's sports is you're lifting each other up. You will rarely see people go down or on each other, even if people are talking smack, whatever. It's all love at the end of the day, and everyone just wants the best for each other, because at the end of the day, we are at a place that we never thought we'd be with seeing all the growth and all the eyes on the league. And love is love, and it's all love.
One of the things that you could do as well, too, upon combing through some of your social material, is your love for fashion.
Love fashion.
The one big thing is the fashion fits and the game day fits. And it's something that you've picked apart. I see you in the LPGA right here, in the WNBA. And is this something, it's amazing to think that you are going to post what everyone's going to wear on a particular game day, make your comment, and people are sucking this up. They're all over it.
Yeah. I think fashion has grown in and of itself, like massively in the past few years. But I love seeing an athlete put a fit on. I mean, we don't have to be in sweatpants or shorts and a t-shirt anymore, and just seeing an athlete like Caitlin Clark there or Cam Brink, seeing them off of the court or out of their playing field putting that fit on is so, who's that? Angel, oh my goodness, she looks amazing. But it definitely garners views because you're seeing a different side of them.
Right.
I think there was a golf clip that came up. I love the intersectionality right now between fashion and golf because you can move around in it and it looks good. Charlie Hull, she's with Melbourne, and oh my goodness, her fits are so incredibly good. But yeah, a lot of the time it's just this is what they're wearing, and I want to hear people's comments. I want to see them. I want that also increases engagement, so your video does do better.
Right.
But I want to see how everyone feels about it because I might feel a different way.
How about the players? Are they investing in this, in what they see you doing?
Well, you now see them getting stylists. So there was, I think, one big stylist a few years ago, and now you have multiple, and it's who were they styled by, and you can kind of see in
kind of like the Oscars. What are you wearing?
Yeah, no,
right?
Exactly. And a lot of the tunnel fits you see, it's like, okay, they were styled by a Maddie, or they were styled by Kate, and you can kind of, you're starting to pick up on it now. But I think stylists all the way, because some people, they can't put together an outfit, but they still want to look good, and they still kind of want to go viral. So I love it. I'm all here for the stylists.
Well, you're here for making the brand ambassadors. You're here for the styles and the fits. You're also here for a little bit of rubbing elbows with celebrities because celebrities want to be part of this too. And again, there's no doubt when I look at some of your hits on social media, some of the Logan, okay, I have entered the world of TikTok with the Sportsline podcast. I'm not active on it. I mean, if I see a interview or a clip I did and it's got 5,000 hits, I'm like, ooh, man. I've seen a couple of yours, in fact, a number of yours surpass the 5 million.
Yeah. And
there was a couple I saw, I think one was 8.6 million views.
Yeah.
Like that's a whole city. Like that's beyond a city. Like I guess Toronto is the only, and GTA. That's a lot of views. When you see that, I mean, here you are, DJ Khaled. I mean, do you ever have to slap yourself in the face and say, like, look where I am?
No, but I think I need to. It's really bad. I don't think I have a concept on anything. Even someone the other week was asking about followers and do I get nervous, or I think I have 20.2 million likes or something right now. I can't conceptualize it for some reason. Sometimes I'll be at Scotiabank Arena and be like, damn, more people follow me than the people in this arena. But it still doesn't hit for some reason. And you actually mentioned the 5,000 views. It's ironic because I'm in a dip in views right now. And I honestly think it's because of how much women's sports has grown. At first, I was the only one talking about it. Now there's so many. So I kind of have to switch things up. And I'm like, okay, what is going to engage people? How do I have to switch things up? Maybe it is, this morning I did a get ready with me and it was more kind of fashion within the sports world. But I'm still working on doing that. But yeah, going back to all those videos, I don't know what it is. Even my friends asked me like, whoa, were they cool, whatever? And I was like, I was just with them. Like, I didn't really, they're just a human to me. I
agree with that. Because a lot of people ask me the same thing too. And I say, hey, they're just folks too.
Yeah.
But still, DJ Khaled.
Yeah, I don't know. I think a big thing is how my dad raised me, that we, for some reason, just never saw people as celebrities or they had a huge backing to them. I mean, even if I saw Tom Brady, I don't think I'd freak out. I honestly think Serena Williams would be the only person that I'd be like, damn, like I'm here, I'm with her. I've met Alexis, he's amazing. But yeah, I can't really think of anyone
because
else.
she's on the top of your Mount Rushmore of women's sports, is she not?
Yes, she is. And I think I could get close to meeting her with the tempo. So hopefully that'll come. And I'll actually report back to you to see how I'm reacting in this situation.
And I look forward to that. Hey, one of the things we talk about this, you still maintain that you are Canadian. There's lots of posts of that. And I found one where you had a lot of fun with some American athletes. Let's roll this.
Okay, so I'll say this because I have family members in Canada. So what's that, Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan?
Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan.
Saskatchewan.
That's a place?
Yeah.
Where?
It's a province in Canada.
Oh, I know this one. That's where my family lives at, Mississauga.
Mississauga?
Mississauga. Mississauga? Mississauga?
Mississauga. Mississippi. That's right?
I got it right?
No, Mississauga.
Okay.
That's one of the fun things too, because you've had an ability as a Canadian to kind of spread the Canadian seed a little bit. Like, and funny, we're in this Canadian American bad world right now, but it's fun, I'm sure, teaching a little bit about your heritage, your background to some of these American athletes and American content people as well.
Yeah, it's funny. That video was actually done, I want to say 2022, 2021, before the Toronto team was even a concept. So they truly had no idea. But that's always my go-to, is trying to sprinkle pieces of Canada wherever I can go or can be. A lot of the events that I go to, probably 95% of them are in the States. So I'm always around those people. But it's just a matter of saying, like, sorry, or like bringing up a Canadian athlete. So Kia Nurse, sometimes I'll just throw her into conversation. Or Christine Sinclair when she was still playing. Caitlin Sheridan, who's on Team Canada as the goalkeeper. One of the first times I was around her team, I was like, oh, Kaylin's from like half an hour away from me. And sure enough, we're friends now. Yeah. But yeah, just little sprinkles everywhere, just making sure that people know that I'm not American. I am Canadian. And I'm very excited with the way that Canadian sports are starting to come up, or on the women's side, that hopefully I won't have to continue to do that, but we'll see. It's fun nonetheless.
You know, your continued growth, and you talk about, again, extending your brand and, you know, your women's sports content creation. And now you're doing a podcast as well, too, called Good Follow.
Yeah.
What's that all about?
We are just talking women's sports. I think it's with DraftKings, and they really want to tap into the women's market. So last year we were more of a soccer show, and this year we're transitioning to basketball. And our other host, Roz, she was the in-arena host, I want to say, for Unrivaled, which did insanely well. So a lot of the time we were talking about Unrivaled, and then W comes into the conversation now with March Madness. And then we do spend some time talking about other sports and quick hits, what's going on where. But yeah, it's been super, oh gosh, I'm in that same outfit. It's been super fun, and I love doing it.
I think one of the interesting things about this podcast is that I'm presuming she's a little older than you.
Yeah.
So I feel like some of the things that she talks about in terms of the growth of women's sports as an older, somewhat older person than you, and it's neat how she talks about the beginning, the growth of a lot of these women's sports and where it is right now.
Yeah.
So you guys actually have a lot to talk about that way.
Yeah, it's actually interesting. She played for Stanford under Tara Vanderveer. So Tara was on the show a few months ago. She was actually roommates with Roz's mom, so it went all the way back. But even hearing from Tara and then Roz and other people that we have on, what they had to go through and what it was like just being a player in, oh gosh, I don't want to age Roz, in the early 2000s or something like that. It is a completely different experience that sometimes games weren't even on TV. You couldn't find them there.
Absolutely.
There wouldn't be anyone in the stands, or the facilities that they'd be on folding chairs, and they just have to accept it and suck it up. And now the growth even to NIL and athletes creating their own brands and having a name for themselves, that is a huge talking point with Roz and I, but also the fact that I'm kind of doing that, but without the athlete part. It's super interesting to her and a lot of other people around me.
Do you ever see a time where women's sports and men's sports will rival each other?
I think they can. I think people are closed off to it, and they won't let it happen. I've been having a ton of conversations about March Madness, because this year I was like, watch Women's March Madness. Like, it has been amazing the past few years. Last year, I want to say the finals surpassed the men's.
The final
by 4 million.
Outdrew by, I think it was 11 million to 9 million.
Yeah.
And that's in the United States. We never got the Canadian numbers. But the women's final four outdrew the men's final four. And again, I can say this from a particular look and generation. We would have thought that is unthinkable. Unthinkable. But it actually happened. And I found myself, a little bit more interested. And if you look back a year ago from my sportscast on the news, I showed more of that tournament than the men's tournament. It was just more interesting.
Trying to tell people. To be honest, this year has not lived up to the hype. This year,
both tournaments haven't, because there hasn't been any upsets.
Yeah, there has been so much talk.
That means the Final Four and the Elite Eight will be great, because there'll be great teams.
Yeah, even coming
and losing
up.
Juju hurt too.
Oh my gosh, that was so sad. I think everyone had the same reaction in that moment, and the fact that it was confirmed as an ACL tear is just absolutely heartbreaking. But we still have other stars. We have Paige, and now you can just add a comeback story to the story that she's already in the progress of writing. So that'll be very interesting to see it all play out. But yeah, I've been trying to tell people the women's sports are so much more interesting, even with the storylines intertwined between them. I just think men's sports have been so ingrained in everyone that's the showcase, that's the highest of highs, and they just aren't open enough to letting women's sports surpass that level. And I think a lot of it does have to do with social media, because you'll see a lot of lowlights and people pick and choose things, and they're like, this is why we don't watch the WNBA, it's an airball. Well, I just saw like 4 airballs from last night's game in the NBA.
The team shot 32%.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you're absolutely correct on that, because I spend a lot of time on a lot of podcasts, even ones where I'm the guest, continually talking about falling ratings in different men's sports, yet I'm continually on my own platforms talking about women's sports and the ratings rising.
Yeah.
You talked about them a couple of times here on this podcast, and we all have mentors and people that inspire us.
Yeah.
You've consistently, I know Mom maybe's got stage fright. She doesn't, I don't see much of her, but your dad has been that person for you.
Yeah.
Why?
Oh gosh, I don't know. He's just my sports person. I always say that he raised me like a boy, in the sense that he raised me to just be in sports. We were watching sports. I was a Rangers fan and a Bears fan before I even knew my own name, and that stuck with me to this day. I mean, I love them. New Era just sent a whole box full of stuff, and it's Rangers and Bears. But yeah, we do so much together, and I think we're the same personality. He's great on camera, which is a big reason why you see him in my videos. But yeah, all glory to you, to the Most High up, Jerry Hackett.
And what is, like, I mean, and this is from a young age, because you played sports at a young age, and he was kind of always by your side.
Yeah, always. He's just, to me, that's just normal. Like, he is my best friend. He's always there. He tried to, what did you do? You you taught me how to skate at 18 months old, and then from there, every single sport that I play and every single thing that I know about sports, maybe other than NFL, because I got into that last year by myself, but it's been because of him.
You must be incredibly proud. I have to start there.
Very proud. Very proud. As proud as a father can be of their daughter, offspring in general. Very incredibly proud.
Because I think every one of us as a male, we love sports. And I don't know if it's a dream for everyone, but I know someone like yourself that has consistently played sports, been involved in sports, you work in sports, in the sports business, to have a daughter that is just as passionate about sports has to be pleasing for you.
It is, and sometimes surreal, and sometimes looking at these clips and just shake my head, and that's my kid. But, you know, through it all, she's just remained who she truly is. And what you see is what you get with Logan. So that is what I'm more proud of than anything else, is that all of this travel and the celebrities and the interaction with professionals hasn't changed her at all.
You and I come from the same sort of cloth and the same age group. And what she is pulling off is something we're not normal, which is not normal to us in the content creation world.
Not at all.
Seeing what she's doing, has that surprised you?
Yeah, it surprises me daily. People ask what my daughter does, and it's tough to get out that she's a digital content creator, influencer, sports person. So we get into the whole, you know, nuts of exactly what it is, but the thought that someone can sustain themselves and be part of a growing culture the way that she has been is, it's amazing.
One of the important things that she said to me, which captured me just moments ago, is that she grew up with people being people. And I would think that would be whether it's black, white, men, woman, celebrity, not celebrity. Was that important for you to instill to her?
Absolutely. At the end of the day, we are all just people. I've never been a fanboy. I know professional athletes personally. We engage with professional people through work. I come across and deal with a lot of characters on that level, and ultimately they're all just people. And I think it was important, and I don't know if it was a conscious effort or thought of mine, but you know, with our backgrounds, it just, you know, we're all just people when it comes down to it. And yeah, they've reached the highest levels and the highest highs that you can get to in their disciplines, but ultimately, you know, they go home, they lay down, they sleep, they wake up, they shower, they have breakfast, and repeat. A little differently than we do.
Maybe so.
You know?
Maybe with more help.
Yeah, you know, a little more comfortably than we do.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they are just people.
You love to golf.
Great people, but
Of course. You love to golf.
Oh, I know what's coming.
Look, here it comes. Here it comes. Does she beat you?
absolutely.
Oh!
Yeah.
I mean, because the reason why she golfs was
Yeah.
you.
Yeah, so there was a time where that bridge was crossed, and I basically had to suck it up.
It was fun getting to that point though, because that was my main motivation. It wasn't who was I going to beat in the tournaments. Like, sure, there were a few top girls, but outside of that, it was okay. Let's go play because I want to beat you, and I think I'm getting close. And the scores just slowly started matching each other. But that was one of my most exciting moments.
We went from giving strokes to slowly no strokes to okay, I just got to let this go. This is just going to happen.
It's pretty good.
It's
Good swing.
Yeah.
The irons or the clubs.
No, she goes good.
We'll end this end on this question here, Logan. You talked about what's next and where you need to be and what you need to do to continue this and let the good times keep on rolling. What do you see in the future when you look, say, 4 or 5 years ahead, or do we even do that?
This is such a fun question because I have no clue. I did not intend to get into this whatsoever. I always say it was kind of an accident, something that I kind of fell into. And now, obviously, I love it and I'm making the most of it. But I think now I'm transitioning off of social media. Maybe not off of social media, but off of me taking the videos of myself and doing everything and more into talent on screen. And I have absolutely been loving that. More of just speaking to the camera and being able to be myself and be, I don't know, on-screen talent, whatever they do.
Right.
Pretty much what you do,
Right.
to be honest. But then with that, going more into lifestyle and beauty and everything else that you see online, but with the women's sports still kind of attached, because I think when I open my feed, that's the stuff that I like to watch. And
That's what people are going to. I mean, you've whether you know it or not, you've now identified yourself within that space.
yeah, and it's actually interesting because I talk to my agents all the time. I try to do something different and no views. There's like no engagement with it. People know me for sitting on a green screen talking about women's sports, which I love. But also there's a time where I'm going to have to grow because I feel like I'm growing with women's sports. And now it's my turn to level up and take the next leap. So we're trying to figure that out. But I think just adding a little bit of everything, and hopefully in a few years, maybe it's my own show with a network, just me solo, or being on TV. I'm not too sure. The world is mine.
ESPN seem to have no problem with you covering the women's sports. That's for sure.
Yeah, hopefully there.
Right? I can see that. You've already been there.
Yeah.
Right?
Amazing facility.
Well, again, I think this is fabulous. I think this is a whole world, a whole space that I think we're all sort of growing with you and accepting and learning, especially people that are of my generation. But there's also a whole new generation that know nothing different than what you are doing. So I will wish you all the best of luck. Proud Papa, great to have you on the Sportsline podcast.
Thanks, man.
No doubt. And anything you need from me or anything promotion, actually, we probably need to go to you for promotion, right? To promote the sports thing. But anything you do need from us, I think it's amazing. A little girl from Oakville, right, has become such a big deal in the women's sports world and on social media. And what you do has been magnificent. We're all sort of watching and just wishing you the best of luck. So thank you again for all you do and coming on the Sportsline podcast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you. and everything you've done. I feel like you're the blueprint for what's to come. So
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Hey, folks, that's your Sportsline podcast for the day. And you've just seen and heard, we love talking sports. That is our thing. If you do know of an athlete, team, or event to promote the Sportsline podcast, you want to hear from you. Please hit the subscribe. Hit that thumbs up button. Give it 5 stars. This was a 5-star podcast, folks. And if you do have something to say, we appreciate your comments, good or bad. Helps us out. A reminder, if it is sports, news, or what's trending now, our podcast network have you covered. For the fine folks that produce the Sportsline podcast, thank you so very much. And we will see you real soon.